I think it is a dispute that can never be resolved. Because it's not about what is there in that message, in that cipher. It's about how you interpret that message. And obviously, everybody interprets it according to his or her liking. And now, if Imran Khan read that message and he thought that this was something that was aimed at toppling his government, and that he saw enough material in that cipher to actually share it with the Pakistani public and make them believe. That is more important, to make the people believe what they're saying is right. And both sides are trying that. Imran Khan tried very successfully and persuaded and convincing the people of Pakistan that it was a conspiracy to topple his government. Now, the other side, the people who are in power now, Nawaz Sharif, PPP, and particularly the military establishment, are now saying that there was nothing in the cipher to show that the Americans actually conspired to bring Imran down, and therefore the entire, Imran's stance is false. It is wrong. Even if the cipher is released, some people are saying that it should be released. I think even if it is released, people will continue to interpret it the way they want to interpret it. What is there in the cipher? Obviously, I have not read it. You have not read it. Most people in Pakistan have not seen that cipher, except the members of the National Security Council. The cipher cannot be made public because it will be against diplomatic norms. You do not do that, and if Pakistan did that without permission from the United States, without consulting the United States first, then that will be setting a very bad example, and Pakistan will be laughed at. To actually make a political point, the government has decided to release a diplomatic message that you don't do that. But I have spoken to the people who actually participated in that meeting, that the message is about. Now, I've spoken to both Pakistanis who attended that meeting, and I've spoken to Americans who attended the meeting. Okay. First of all, this is the most important point that both Pakistanis and Americans, actually not Americans, but Pakistanis, and most people in Pakistan tend to ignore, is that it was not a meeting. It was a lunch. It was a farewell lunch for the then ambassador, Asad Majid Khan Sahab, who is now the foreign secretary, and where Donald Lu, a senior diplomat, then he was not a very senior diplomat, but now he's in the Secretary of State. He represented the State Department, as the tradition is, and where he spoke frankly and shared his views on US-Pakistan relations. Now, what happens in the diplomatic world, that these kind of lunches and dinners are also used to convey messages, but these messages are not seen as official or formal messages. These are seen as what they are, just a social chat, and both sides take advantage of this lunch or dinner or whatever it may be to send a message, knowing that it will not be seen as an official message, that it will not be disputed as an official message. It will be seen as the views of a particular person, but at the same time, it will convey the message they want to convey to the other party. And this is a very important channel of diplomatic communication. You never make it a dispute, because it is not a sort of a formal position. These are the views of an individual. And what you do, what happens after such a meeting is that both sides prepare messages, ciphers, or whatever. They take notes as they did at this meeting, and then they share it with the government back home. And it's sort of an alert to the government that, look, this is how people in Washington are thinking. These are their views on a particular development, and we need to be careful. We need to look at it closely. We need to prepare our response or whatever. Okay, and that's what Ambassador Asad Majid Khan did. He prepared his message, which is his understanding of that. This is also very important, and people in Pakistan also ignore this this particular point, that what Asad Majid Khan and the Pakistan embassy sent was their interpretation of what happened in that meeting, okay, and not an American interpretation of how they see the things. They said what they said, and Pakistan embassy interpreted it as they did. Then it somehow reached the then government and reached the former prime minister, and they interpreted it the way they wanted to interpret it. And this is something that should have ended there. It should not have. Okay, I understand people it is easy in most third world countries to use America for scoring political points, which is what the PTI did. They benefited from it, and they should have ended it there, which they did actually. But after all exploiting it for almost a year, finally Mr. Khan admitted that he does not think that it was an American conspiracy. He thinks that the army was the establishment. He didn't say the army, the establishment was behind it. And then he said the former army chief, Mr. Bajwa, was behind it. And he tried to sort of convince the Americans that he has moved ahead. But meanwhile, what happened, because the way one particular individual, Donald Liu, was targeted, and that is never done in this kind of diplomacy. You do talk about governments and their policies, but you do not mark out an individual, because that may have consequences. I mean, he lives in America, and he lives in this country. Government officials are not provided any security. They live in ordinary neighborhood like everybody else. Anybody can walk up to their homes and do anything. So when you target a particular individual, you are making him vulnerable, and that is why the Americans are very upset. And therefore, when Mr. Khan tried to send his message that, look, it's all over, I have moved ahead, you do too, the Americans did not, and they are still not willing to. Yesterday's statement delivered at an event in Houston shows that the Americans have not forgotten what happened, and they are not willing to let it go. And that is, I think, a bad signal for Mr. Khan and his party, because he has already annoyed the army. His statements, his positions on various issues have united all political forces in Pakistan against him. And now the Americans are also showing that they are not very happy with him. And there are, if you talk to people, they say, even the Chinese, which obviously I have no way to actually confirm or reject, but what I hear is that the Chinese were also not very upset with him. So all sorts of forces are working against him, and he is fighting alone. Obviously, he has one big support, that of the Pakistani people. He is still hugely popular, and he thinks that with their support, he will be able to defeat all these forces and actually return to power. I think that's a very difficult target. He may or he may not achieve it, and most probably all these forces will work against him and will try to make sure that he does not return to power. Thank you.